Today we've got our good friend Dustin from Thrice. Dustin, every time I hang out with you, it's just like such a good time. You're such a chill dude. You're so California. Cullen and I grew up in South Dakota, which is very much not California. And whenever I meet and become friends with somebody from California, I realize like how much not California I am. And you're one of those people where whenever I hang out with you, I'm just like, wow, I'm just so not California because you're just so California. I said California.
You're basically the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. Well, more about that later. But, that's interesting because back in the day, we used to feel like we didn't fit in with California. And
really,
East Coast bands would think that we were East Coast bands.
Just even from a personality standpoint or just sound?
Yeah. No, just in general. They like, I don't know. Because I think of California not as like chill vibe. I don't know, a lot of like just douchiness and I don't know, and not all of it.
That's
but
what
like
Mason was trying.
When I think of Southern California, there's a lot of that going around.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it, Dustin, but it was like that was my like roundabout way of trying to say it. But like, I guess you said it for me, so
it's glaring.
Love you too. All right. Well, the reason why we brought you on here is, so a few months ago, you played in the Twin Cities. You played Horizons West, and obviously some other songs from the older albums. But I listening through Horizons West. For whatever reason, I listened to it. It's amazing. It was one of my favorite albums of 2025. And then, I don't know, it's one of those things where like when an album comes out, and especially when it's like a person that you know, I'm just like not great at like reaching out. And I'm like, we should have reached out to you earlier before the album actually came out. But here we are now. We can actually talk about it now. It is truly like, it was one of my favorite albums of 2025. I'll be honest, I like it more than Horizons East. It just has like all of these Thrice elements that I love about you guys. I think Horizons East, for the most part, kind of went into this more like, this is going to be like I really mean this like in a complimentary way, but it's just like in a way where it's like it's a little different than Thrice, but like it kind of had a little bit maybe more of a post-rock ambient vibe, whereas like Horizons West has that clearly and has like all of the like heavy elements that you would want from Thrice as well. And there, I don't know, at least in my like experience of both of those albums, Horizons West has just a little bit more of that. And so anyway, because of that balance, it just immediately jumped up in one of my favorite albums of the year. And so I don't know, like I don't know if you have any initial, we'll obviously want to deep dive more into it, but like do you have any initial sort of, now that the album's been out for a little bit of time, you've played it live, like I don't know if there's like any initial feelings and thoughts about the album that you have?
I mean, I really love it. I think it's the best thing we've done, I don't know, maybe since the Alchemy Index. Like I just,
wow,
for whatever reason, and I don't think you can really force things like that. It just has something going on, and it is cool. So there's a couple theories to that. I think part of it is we really we wrote it quickly. So we were, kind of pulling parts together for a long time, but not actually getting together and putting the songs together. So that was all in, 20 days basically. So it was like, it was 4 work weeks, and so we were trying to lean into, hey, we are dumb and we waited too long to do this, and now it needs to happen. And so let's lean in and go with there's a lot of interesting energy and spontaneity that comes when you're first jamming on a song that you don't really know what you're doing. You're playing a little bit more viscerally and instinctually, and later on you can start overthinking things. And so we would get something down, kind of get a recording of whatever that was, and listen back the next week and be like, all right, let's pick that up, and be like, oh, these were cool parts. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep this kind of thing that I just randomly did And I don't know, so it picked up some of that. And then I think another big piece was having revisited The Illusion of Safety and Artist in the Ambulance for shows and for artists re-recording it. There was like a kind of full circle like acquainting ourselves with some of those things, or like letting something drop, some kind of resistance, right? And my buddy Johnny was saying, he's like, I've been reading a lot of Jung lately, and I feel like this record is like Thrice, like incorporating its shadow. And I thought that was, I was like, I feel like that's fairly accurate. So yeah, I think there's something healthy there in just having had the distance to pick certain things back up and play with them in the way that feels good to us now, and not forced, and not because somebody else wants us to. And yeah.
Something I noticed listening through the record is that it never really feels like there's a moment where you can feel settled as a listener. It's like this melancholic undertone, and sometimes it's an overtone, but it feels like it's never going to let you kind of feel just at peace at any moment. Did you kind of feel that as well, writing or playing the music in general?
I don't know. I don't think. I mean, you're saying kind of musically, everything just.
Yeah, like both lyrically and musically. I kind of get.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
vibe.
lyrically, it's a heavy record. It's kind of holding your face towards the abyss a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of on my end, that idea is just that we don't look towards those things sometimes. We don't look towards mortality and death and, I don't know, questions of meaninglessness or absurdity. I don't know. And I think, obviously, because those things can be scary, but rather than looking away, there's something to be found by settling in and becoming friendly with those things that are scary things, I guess, or at least it can be for a lot of us. And so I think a lot of the record's kind of doing that in certain ways. But I never thought about the music specifically doing that.
It might be like kind of like the juxtaposition of, it's like some of the tunes, like I think of like Albatross, for example, which kind of has a, thumping bass line, for example, and it kind of drives forward a bit. And even that song, like it has, I feel like a pretty hopeful message even in the lyrics, but for some reason I feel a little bit unsettled, but it's a good kind of unsettlement, right? It's something that causes you to turn inward a bit more instead of just like losing yourself in the music. It's kind of like, all right, be aware of what you're listening to, understand your own self through this. So I find it to be very, very perplexing. I'm not sure I've listened to a record like this in a while.
I don't know. I like that it's at least doing something interesting.
So, like a song like Nash, which there is something to be said about like. What's funny is like with these last two albums, with Horizons East and Horizons West, like my favorite song on Horizons East, I'm like totally blanking on the song now, but it kind of it's like totally like the most post-rocky of your songs, and where like there's this like very gradual like build up and big crescendo. And then Nash is like just a straight up like hardcore song for the most part, where really you kind of tap into some degree with obviously some like newer elements of your new kind of this like newer Thrice sound, but there's definitely some like old Thrice going on. But there is something to be said, like you guys are just able between these like last two albums, especially if you think of these albums as like connected in a way where like. And I don't know how much like when you were writing Horizons West, like it's meant to be like, all right, you're supposed to listen to Horizons East first or West after, or just like, both of them at the same time. I don't know how you thought about that, but like that's something where like in combination, I think I appreciate Horizons East a little bit more, but there's something about like the fact that you're able to like do this dynamic really well of like all these like beautiful ambient things that Thrice has been able to develop over these years, and also like still honor the fact that you guys are a hardcore band at the end of the day too, and you're able to still do that really well. I don't know if that like was something that you like thought through of like the sort of dynamic of how both of the albums would play together. I don't know. I'm just curious like how that was a part of it.
Yeah, I think the way the music has different feel, I think a lot of that just was naturally what was happening, especially after, revisiting that stuff. And then, like, thematically, they're definitely meant to, it doesn't really matter the order unless, it's, the big metaphor is sun rises in the east, sets in the west. And it's, West is much more densely themed that way because I had longer to kind of sit with it and play with those ideas. Yeah, they are very different feeling records, and it's hard to kind of put into a succinct description what is so different about them. But I think people are really responding to some kind of energy or urgency or something in even in the slower songs on West, there's something that feels different, and I don't know. I can't quite figure out what that is either.
Is it something where when you guys were writing both, like for example, when Horizons East was being written, were you literally like waking up early in the morning and writing lyrics and writing songwriting then, and then like Horizons West, you were like, all right, end of the day, sun is starting to set, it's out in the west, starting to see that sun over that nice little coast in Orange County. Were you starting to look at the sun then, and you were like, all right, time to write? Was there anything about the actual placement of where you were located that had any influence on that?
Not really, no. I just think having that break between and having that break be filled with having to look back at what we did 20 years ago was really interesting. And it wasn't the purpose of why we did that. It was like, the studio is fun. And it's the most fun thing for us, but it's also just super draining. And so we got to the end of East and we were going to just make West right away. And we were like, nope, that's not going to happen right now, or it's going to suck if it does. And yes, it really was kind of a full reset in a certain way. And I don't think we really realized that it had happened until the record was done and out, and we started having to think about what had gone on and why, and it was like, oh yeah, like we spent 2 years or whatever, like doing something completely different than trying to like write something new or what. It was just like re-understanding what we were up to a long time ago when we first started this thing, and reappreciating what was cool about it, and not trying to like be like, oh, right now we need to do this, but it just shifted something in us, I think.
So you had the time to look back throughout Thrice's career, long career. The sound has evolved so much throughout the years. Do you look back at older Thrice and look at it with positive eyes, or do you have a different point of view about the earlier records than you do now?
Yes, to a point. Like the first record, Identity Crisis, is like, we can listen back and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then every song has one part that just sucks. And you're like, what the hell? Why did we do that? Like every song. But yeah, after that, I think it gets consistently better. It's just funny looking back at it and trying to figure out what you were thinking. And like Illusion of Safety is wild. Like there's almost nothing that repeats on that record, and I didn't realize how much that's true. Like it barely has, like, I think there's like 1, 2 songs maybe that have a chorus that it's like, it's just going and doing this weird linear journey. And yeah, and I remember it freaked Brian out when we were trying to make that record with me. He's just like, what are you guys doing? This is strange.
This isn't for the
I don't know.
radio.
So, but yeah, looking back at it, and the distance really lets you let your guard down about appreciating it or having it be associated with you. You know, I think when it's close, you're like, no, I'm doing something new. It's cooler. It's it's different.
I've always been like curious about, especially with your evolution and your sound, and especially with this like new album, with it really does incorporate, again, at least in my opinion, like all the things that Thrice does really well. It's one of those albums where, and I think there's maybe some other Thrice albums that does this really well, but this album in particular really just does all the things that you guys do really well. Like the heavy parts, the more ambient, slow, melodic parts, like you do it all really well. And I like often think about the fact that, and I think Thrice is unique in this way, where like more or less like you've had the same guys throughout this entire almost 30 years. I could be wrong, but maybe there's been like some like touring members occasionally, but like for the most part, like you guys have had the same people for nearly 30 years. And like I'm just curious, like as people, as like friends, as like I know you guys like grew up together, like that must be like that. That's a unique thing. Like, I think about all the time, like Cullen and I are totally different. And from how long ago was that? Like 12 years ago? Like, I mean, if you would have met Cullen and I 12 years ago, Dustin, like you'd been like, these are entirely different people. And if you would have met us like 12 years ago, knowing where we're at now, like you'd been like, there's not a good chance like these guys are gonna be friends. Like you guys have been together for over 30 years and you still are friends. Like you still care about each other. You're still able to like do a thing together, which that's a whole other thing. Like that to me is like, how have you been able to do that throughout all these years and still been able to like creatively figure out like we're going to create something really unique and also like it's still true to who we are. But I'm just curious, like from that longevity with the fact that like it's like the same people for the most part.
Yeah, it's just been us the whole time. I think all those things you're talking about are kind of related in the sense that doing the thing that we all love together is part of what keeps it going. Like, and I think it's because we really line up on the values that we have as a band, like why we're doing this, why we've ever done it. And it's always been about the music and the kind of pure joy of creating something and then getting to share it with people rather than having any external rewards or goals that we're pushing towards. So it's always just been, that's the focus, and then we figure out if we can make a living after the fact. And so that, I think that unity of vision is in a large part the glue that kind of holds this whole thing together. That, and as you were saying earlier, I am chill, the other guys are chill. We're generally mellow humans, and so there's not a lot of drama that you might encounter in some other bands.
Yeah, what do you contribute? Is it really just truly like you do you feel like you just kind of got lucky, or because clearly you've met and have toured with other bands where like that's not the case, where you get kind of personalities that just don't work together, but you guys are just kind of at a place where you just are easy to get along with, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because we, in different ways, knew each other before we were doing a band thing, and there was just a vibe. But and we've also grown up together, so like there's an amount of shaping that happens to all of you, together too, as you move through that long of a period.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like Cullen and I, we met when Cullen, we were like 15 maybe. I was 13.
Yeah.
And Cullen and I have gone through plenty of our arguments and disagreements or whatever, and like at the end of the day, like we love each other and we've grown together, and There's a reason why we're still best friends, and there must be like some sort of like, anybody who's experienced that kind of level of like friendship or relationship probably can attest to, you grow with one another. And I would imagine what's interesting is like, as much as like you've been able to do that with like 3 other dudes, I would imagine like each one of you has been able to do that with like partners and like children, even. Like I know there's children involved in the band. And so like, there's just something to be said about the fact that like you intertwine all these relationships where it's like, it takes a long time and there's a growth and there's changing. And at the end of the day, you just sort of figure it out and you're able to still create something really cool. So yeah, I don't know. There's just something really cool about that to me.
I agree. And there's something that comes from it musically that you can't really get at another way. Like playing with people together that long, you start to have your own kind of shared language of how you talk about it and how you play music. And there's no shortcut to that, I think.
Yeah. Does it feel like a marriage at times?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe less like a marriage and more like a family, in the sense that there's multiple dynamics happening. It's not just, one person. But yeah, it's very much like a family in that sense where, it's not like we're friends, but it's not the kind of friend thing where you're like, man, that guy was annoying. I'm not going to hang out with him so much anymore. Like, it's your brother. So, he's annoying right now, but your brother, so you're going to hang out more. And, and then you get over it and you grow together and whatever. So,
sure.
Well, I think Cullen and I both have brothers that are brothers, but they're annoying and we get over it and we figure it out.
That's true. I've always found your writing style to be, your lyrical writing style to be so interesting. I mean, it is very, it's almost like it's of a different era, just because not a lot of people in rock bands in general, I feel, make really introspective kind of music these days. And maybe they think that they are, but at least it's not scratching that same itch that I get from Thrice. After having you on this many times, I don't know why I've never asked you this, but where do you find yourself getting your inspiration for lyrical content?
Yeah, besides like Moses and Abraham and all the other people of your generation. I think that's what Cullen was trying to say. It was
that is not what I was trying to say.
No, I feel like part of what you're getting at in saying that it's like there is a what would be the right way to say that? I don't know. I think a lot of it's I'm like a very nerdy word person. Like I care a lot about words, like, and especially in how they get crafted together in songs. And so I think there's maybe and I appreciate I appreciate like free verse stuff too, but there's something about a really like well-crafted sonnet or something, or like something that has a really strong structure, but someone's able to work within that structure and do something really interesting. I think sometimes that can be more powerful depending on the circumstance. And I think I do that kind of stuff a lot, which is not generally a rock kind of thing to do. It feels a little like almost from another era. I get that.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or like hymns, honestly, like
yeah.
Where it's this neatly crafted thing. So I can do that to a fault, and so there's elements of that I try to loosen up and have tried to loosen up over time. And I think I've kind of found my voice in that a little bit, and I really these days let the song dictate a lot of where I go with that kind of stuff. Like if it, so like back to your question, like the things that inspire the lyrics, what's going on inside me, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the things that I am ingesting, and like, reading, watching, whatever, and then what's going on in the song itself. And the song's kind of already starting to tell a story, and so I'm really trying to pay attention to that so that I can tell a story that maps onto it, and it kind of ascends from there and becomes something bigger than either part on its own. Yeah, so it's like I take those things, I'm kind of thinking about different things that are going on around me or that I read, and then I'm listening to the music, and it starts to have a gravity that pulls some of those ideas towards it almost, and then I find an anchor point or a hook thing that I start to be like, oh, okay, I think that's the heart of the song. Now I got to start building it out from there.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that you said sonnet-like and a little more like form to it, but not necessarily, strict form or anything like that. You don't use like $10 words or anything like that to try to make yourself.
I used to a little bit. I mean, if it's the right word, I'll use it.
Yeah.
Still waiting for concrescence or actual occasion, but that still hasn't happened yet.
I mean, the record starts with "Spirit hides between the glamored grip of words," so it's there that that song has a little higher language point. Tepe talked me out of this. Is true. It used to say "Spirit hides betwixt the glamored grip of words," and it did that because there was a very specific rhyme that it locked in with afterwards, with amidst, and I get really nerdy about that stuff. And he's like, "I think you should just say between, man." I was like, I think you're right. Okay. It's like right out of the gate. You're like, oh, you're going to drop a betwixt in the first
are you ever like,
five words or
something? Tepe, you're just like the guitar guy. Like, what do you get to say on
third
this?
line, third word? No, I used to be a lot more guarded with the lyrics and wait to the end to show everyone. It was not helpful. So I try to be a lot more open with it and invite feedback. So
that's probably smart.
There's not usually a lot, but
yeah.
So I try to pay attention when it's there.
Along those lyrics, like clearly you're like a person who is very intentionally sort of trying to craft these things. Obviously, clearly you're taking into account what your band members might have input on. Are there maybe other lyricists or poets where when you read them or listen to them, you're like, God, I'm kind of jealous that they got that line. I'm neither a lyricist or a poet, but like there's times where like Catherine Keller will say something where I'm like, Jesus, why did I not get that one? Or like, Aaron Weiss to me, like as much as I'm not like a lyrics person, but like Aaron Weiss has got some good ones where I'm like, that's a good line. But yeah, are there people in your life, or even like Josh Goggin, shout out to the Chariot again, the millionth time in this podcast. But yeah, are there people that you listen to or read where you're like, God, that like I can't believe they got that line, and that kind of ticks me off that they got that one.
I don't know if I don't usually get the like it ticks me off. I just kind of am in awe of it sometimes, and it's usually the ones that I notice a lot are like people that write very differently than me. Because it's like it's
something that you wouldn't maybe put into your lyrics.
Yeah, that I'm like I couldn't do that. I don't know how you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just a different way of processing the world and how to put that into song. So a lot of that's like I think like someone like Medium Build is a good example of it's just like and it's just I think people who do this well like just kind of like maybe David Bazan does this too a bit where it's just like I'm just throwing all this shit on the table and you're like, oh shit, you're putting it right there. It's like, yep. And the weird, embarrassing feeling things, but it has a power to it because it feels so intimate. It's like someone talking right in your ear. Or something. Like it's just not how I operate. I don't know if it's just because I'm naturally a very introverted, private person, but I don't think that's all of it. I think it's just there's something about the way that people find catharsis in how they write. And so, I mean, some of my favorites, I think John K. Samson from the Weaker Thans and his solo stuff is one of the best living lyricists. I think he's highly underrated. You know, I like Blake Schwarzenbach from Jawbreaker.
Wow. Okay.
Leonard Cohen is amazing. And Leonard is someone that's closer to the way that I write, where it's, you know, he wrote in poem form a lot. And so sometimes, like, what that'll do is just create these turns that are just staggering, the way that they kind of come around and deliver on what came before. Yeah, I think I really like poetry. Mary Oliver is amazing, and there's such a bluntness and
but she was like, the brevity of her poems typically was like really, well, it would like she could like say like one word, and for whatever reason it would almost communicate a whole sentence. Like she had that ability.
I feel like what she does really well is gets out of the way. Like it feels very unself-conscious. She feels very comfortable just writing it down, like, and she would go out and just write it down, and that was her thing. And I don't know, I really like her. And prose-wise, Ursula K. Le Guin has come to be my favorite. She's just fantastic. So
do you find yourself more drawn to that instead of maybe the more comfort writing? Then would you find yourself more looking towards the styles that are not like you, and instead of the styles that you would maybe more align with, I should say?
I like it all, man. I like it all. I just, if it's doing something really good, I'm there for it.
I asked because I was thinking back to something my dad had told me when I was growing up. My dad's a very good singer, and he shared with me one time that he only listens to artists that he can't sing like at all, because he finds that to be the only thing appealing. He's like, if I can do it, then they're not that good. So that's kind of why I ask, because I think that's an interesting point of view.
I think there's definitely a draw to something that you feel is outside of something that's in your wheelhouse. That I think that's true, at least, especially, or more true thinking about like singers for me. Like if they can sing in a way that's just super different than me, that's intriguing. I think what I'm looking for in voices more than anything is being able to really communicate emotion and something raw. I don't really have any draw to like just a really good voice in a traditional sense.
Well, along those lines, I'm always curious, this, especially for artists that have been around, you know, as long as Thrice. Like, you know, there's something to be said, like if you're, you know, a younger band, you've maybe in those first like few years where you're still kind of figuring yourself out. But Thrice, you know, you guys have so many albums, you've been around for so long. For you personally, Dustin, like what's the thing as an artist that you're trying to work on? Like, you know, you're talking a little bit about how there's maybe some like from like a lyricist standpoint, like there's like people where you're like, oh, like that's something that, you know, maybe I wouldn't do, but I'm like a little like, oh, that would be something that'd be interesting. Or maybe it's like from a songwriting standpoint, like just the way you compose songs, or maybe it is like just from your voice where you're like, oh, I really love that voice, and that's something maybe I could do that I'd love to work on. Or maybe it's even like just from guitar playing. But I'm just curious, like, is there something where you're like, I would love to work on that, or I am working on that, to maybe incorporate that into Thrice at some point? Because I'm always really curious, like, you know, you hear like from athletes, like this is the thing that the quarterback's trying to work on, or this is like what the basketball player's trying to work on. Like, I'm curious for an artist, like what's the thing that you're wanting to work on that you think might make Thrice a better band moving on in the future?
I mean, the thing that comes to mind is a little different maybe than what you're asking, but it just, I'm always trying to figure out how to keep my voice really strong on the road. It can be difficult, especially like starting tours. I end up getting like swollen in my throat, and then if I'm not really careful with that, it'll, just totally get wrecked, and I'll have to, cancel a show or whatever. So trying to figure that stuff out, and weirdly enough, on this last tour, it started happening. I got some steroids to like get through that period to like keep the swelling in check, but it was still hard, and I really was trying to focus when I was singing on like what is actually feeling good, like in my body for my throat in the way that I'm doing this. And I feel like I kind of unlocked something in the process of doing that, which was like, people always say like, sing from your gut, like that's where the power comes from or whatever. And sometimes that stuff, a lot of times it hasn't made sense to me. Just, okay, breathe out of your gut. It's just like, it's all the same place, right? And I don't think I have generally a very good body awareness, which is something I've worked on over time too. But I think in the process of not trying to hurt myself, I started unlocking, like singing from my gut, and I almost felt like I was like a bagpipe, and I was like, I could hold air in there and then control the pressure more.
Sure.
And if there was more pressure, more consistency, like I could keep it feeling really solid and healthy. And by the end of that tour, I felt like I was singing really well, and people kept coming up to me. It's just like, you sound really good this tour. I don't know what's going on. And I think that was a part of it, is I figured something like that out. So that was interesting.
It's all those kettlebell swings, right?
Well, you kind of have like a chameleon kind of voice. So how does that breath support change kind of some of the tonal inflections that you play with? Because you really do kind of a little bit of everything.
I mean, breath is really important no matter what you're doing. Like, you would think, oh, if it's quiet, you barely need any breath, but weirdly,
False.
You need a lot of breath to control when you're singing quiet. Otherwise, it'll just fall apart.
I feel like it's almost harder.
No, it really can be. Yeah, I mean, going back to your, unlocking new things. Like, everyone tripped out on Vesper, like all the falsetto that I'm doing on that, which was not like a very conscious thought for me to be like, oh, this is going to be super different. It was kind of on my demo, because I had to be quiet when I was tracking the melody originally, and then we were like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then I was going to do it on one verse, and then the guys were like, no, just keep it, it's cool, like keep doing it. But everyone, when the song came out, they're like, is that Tepe? Is that Ed? I was like, it's me. I've done falsetto before, guys. Like, I don't know why this is so weird. I hadn't done as much, but so apparently that's a new people like that. So I also think there was a bit of, for a while, when like Bon Iver was first super popular, and I thought if I did more of it, everyone was like, oh, he's just trying to do Bon Iver. And then by this point, I didn't even think about it. So,
well, when I think of Thrice, I often think about Bon Iver, so that's like a common misunderstanding, so I get it. Makes sense. One of the things I've heard you talk about before when we've hung out, that I don't know if this is like more publicly known or not, but you said before, like, you guys as Thrice like have kind of your own little like studio. Like, I don't know if one of the guys has like a sort of garage in the backyard kind of thing, but it like has created like a place where like you guys can rehearse, demo out, and all of that, and it has sort of changed the ability for Thrice to be like, I think you even mentioned before, like it's almost like sort of saved the band. I don't know if that's like the words you've used with me before, but there's something about like the fact that you like kind of have this space where you can kind of go to, where you all can hang out, rehearse, demo out or whatever. And I don't know, there's just something about that. And I'm curious like how you maybe saw that play out for this particular album.
I mean, was the first time we did it. We built it out, I guess, like out of the pandemic. So we recorded everything there now, but we recorded Horizons East there, and the Artist in the Ambulance re-recording. And we had in the past a very, very, very small studio in Teve's backyard that we did the Alchemy Index in. And I guess beggars. But we never have had a place where everything could. We've always had like a storage space too, and like nothing ever fit ever, and it was just constantly like weird little trips back and forth, and we got stuff stolen and whatever. And finally, like this place is one of those kind of small office industrial things where there's like a roll-up garage thing, and we built basically a live room into it. It's pretty soundproof, and we have all our storage there for touring stuff, and it's very nice to not it's costs money, but it's not like a ton more than having a smaller space and a storage space, and it's way, way better. So I wish we would have invested in it a while before that, but it is fantastic, and it's great being able to write there, demo the stuff, and then actually track it there. And this time I think one of the better things we did was we bought a couple more mics that we needed, a couple more mic cables, whatever, and got it to where we didn't have to change the whole room when we switched from drums to guitar to vocals. So everything was kind of set up, and we could go back and forth depending on kind of what was happening at the time, if my voice was feeling good, if Riley wanted another day to work on a song, whatever it was. We had a lot more flexibility, so that was key.
Dig it. Should we move into top 5, Mace?
Let's do it. All right. All right. So Dustin, we prepped you up on this a little bit, but maybe an artist or two. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But an artist or two who, on paper, you should like, but for whatever reason you just can't get into. And then, if you're willing to, an artist on paper that maybe you shouldn't like, but for whatever reason you just really love. So I think I gave you the example a little bit ago where an artist on paper that I should like but I just can't get into is Law Dispute. I think for Cullen, like a classic example for him is Deftones. For whatever reason, just Cullen can't get into Deftones, even though on paper that's a band that he should like.
Deftones?
Deftones, you know,
they should rename
whatever,
Deftones.
You know, it's a ska band either way, right? And then an artist on paper that you shouldn't like, but you do. Again, for me, Bon Iver, Sufjan, that kind of like indie folk stuff. I just absolutely love those two artists. But for the most part, almost any one of those other kind of artists. Maybe Fleet Foxes would be in that like vein for me too, that I really like. But other than that, that's kind of it. Like there's really not many other artists like that I really like. And then for Cullen, I don't know if there's like another one.
I would say like Lana Del Rey is a good example.
Yeah, that's like, a great one.
I'm not into pop divas, but for some reason, well, I don't know if she's necessarily a diva, but man, yeah, there's no reason I should like her, but I do.
So I don't know if you've got maybe a couple artists for both of those categories, Dustin, but it'd be fun to talk about those.
Okay, so the first one is something on paper that I should like but don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or if you want to go the other way around, that's fine too.
Can I give you one that like changed? Because I feel like that might be interesting.
Sure.
Like, I never liked Steely Dan.
Ooh.
I never liked Steely Dan, and my dad loved Steely Dan, and I listened to like all my dad's records growing up. I would go through, and I was into all the Beatles and Zeppelin and Stones and Steve Miller Band and whatever like. And for some reason, it just was like, can't do Steely Dan. I don't know if I didn't like the name. I don't know what it was. And I would know the songs, but I'd be like, I don't know. I had this weird push against certain kinds of 70s vibes for a bit. And I think the gateway to me, honestly, this is weird, was, do you know Dawes? The band Dawes?
No.
Dawes.
No.
Okay, Dawes is fantastic. That guy's a genius lyricist. Taylor, I think his name. But so they have a record that's called All Your Favorite All Your Favorite Bands, something like that. And it's really good, but it's like really kind of pulling a lot from that a certain 70s kind of sound.
Kind of like West Coast pop kind of style.
I don't know. It's like these great harmonies and great guitars. Anyway, I almost couldn't listen to it. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And then it clicked. And then I was like, yes, I love this so much. And then I think that unlocked Steely Dan for me. And now I love Steely Dan.
Dude,
that's not really
so what's your
question,
favorite,
but it is interesting.
What's your favorite Steely Dan record?
I don't. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm not like, okay, yes, I have not gone into like, I'm going to go through the discography and really, but I love whenever I hear Steely Dan now and will listen to
All right.
it.
So what was the tune of Steely Dan that you heard that you're like, okay, I get it now, or I buy it now?
Let me think. I can't think of names of anything if I don't look it up.
Yeah, I don't know if I like could really honestly name like most Steely Dan names of their songs, but like if I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Steely Dan.
I mean, I think
Black Cow, Peg.
I think maybe it was like, because a lot of them I knew from like, you know, the radio growing up, like
Yeah, you just
play oldie stuff, and like
you just exist in the U.S.
kinda,
in the '90s and in the 2000s, and you hear it.
But I think maybe one day, like listening to Reeling in the Years, I was just like, this is really good.
Oh
this
yeah,
is really good. I don't know. Dirty Work is good.
Dirty Work is killer.
There's a lot.
See, I don't know about like Orange County, and I'm sure you guys have like your own version of this. I'm and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least where Cullen and I grew up in South Dakota on lakes, like, and especially now that I'm like in Minnesota, like my version of Steely Dan, or like my memory of Steely Dan, is like you're just like on a yacht. Or maybe not a yacht, but like on a
we got yachts out here.
Yeah, we don't have those. You're on a pontoon. That's what we got.
Yeah.
We
There
got
you go.
pontoons.
That's more like it.
And you're on a pontoon, and you crack that beer, you crack that like either a grain belt. Remember those grain belts, or like a Miller High Life. You crack one of those open, and you just listen to some Steely Dan on the lake in Minnesota or South Dakota in the middle of like July. Like there's just like nothing better. Like nothing.
That's solid.
Not a better experience. And I'm sure like there's an Orange County version of that. I'm just saying, but like that's my experience of it.
I think that's a solid experience, and I agree with you.
That's why it's called yacht rock. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, pontoon rock for us.
Yeah.
Pontoon rock. I feel like that feels better to me.
Yeah, when I think of Thrice, I think of pontoon rock.
That's houseboat rock. You have no idea.
Houseboat rock.
All right, so that was an answer that didn't really make sense to your question, but
I think that's perfect. Actually, I think that's a great answer.
It touches both ends of the question.
okay. Well, maybe that's my hybrid answer then, because I don't know if I'm gonna
dig
get you another one.
Do you have any other artists kind of in that category of like maybe on paper you wouldn't like, but for whatever reason you just do?
I'm sure I'm gonna like think of one like in the middle of the night and be like, dang it. But no, I can't think of one right now.
That's fine. All right, what about on the inverse category? So artists that on paper you're like, all right, this makes sense that I should like them, but I just can't get into them. Like what artists come up to mind for that?
Well, I mean, I think that's what I was saying about Steely, because like, I don't know.
Oh,
like,
is that what that was your?
I think
Steely
that's what I was
Dan?
getting into it. Like, but
You should definitely name a contemporary of yours. Because that's when it's the most fun. Yeah.
That's hard because I don't listen to like almost anything that would come up on like a. If you like Thrice, you like this. Like, it never makes sense to me. Well, that's not true. There's stuff on there that does that. There are And I think in the past couple of years, that stuff's gotten better, or it's just knows the algorithm knows.
The
I don't like
algorithm
that shit.
knows everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Under Oath?
I mean, I don't listen to Under Oath at all.
Well, maybe a better
There's just
way
there's stuff like that I just have like, those are like things you're like you mean to get around listening to at some point. You just never do.
you just don't.
And someone's like,
Yeah,
why don't
no,
you listen to that?
that's
Totally.
fair. That's fair. What are
I was
are
like that with
bands
the
maybe-
National for a while, and then they became one of my favorite bands.
See,
I had
that's
a
good
friend that
point.
would be like, "You got to listen to National." I was like, "Eh." I hadn't heard any of it, and one day I heard it, and I was like, "This is my favorite."
So what's your like current version maybe of that, where it's like, all right, I've listened to them, I've given it like my best, and I just like can't do it. Like it just doesn't work for me. Like what's like, is there a version of that of a band where it's like, all right, I've listened to everything
like
I possibly could, and it just doesn't quite click for whatever reason?
Maybe it'd be easier if it was like a bigger band, like Foo Fighters or something like that, where like you really can't escape their music.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean,
Or Korn.
I just don't like Korn.
I definitely know people
don't
like
know.
with like Linkin Park like that, where they're like, you
Yeah.
can't escape Linkin Park because of that, because you can't escape them. You've listened to everything you possibly could, and you just can't get into them. Even though I think a lot of people who love Linkin Park would be like, have you really truly listened to all of their stuff?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm striking out on this one. My brain is
It's all
blank.
good, man.
You're totally
It's all
fine.
good. Mason really wanted to know.
I'm curious because I'm like, the thing with you, Dustin, is like you truly are a music fan. Like there are a lot of like even more obscure artists that you listen to, and so I was just curious, like if you happen to know like any bands that you're like, you know what, I should like that band, but I just can't get into them.
He's still trying to reel you in. I was willing to let you off the hook a while ago.
You know who I need to listen to? It's like,
There you go. How about a band that you need to listen to, but you haven't?
yeah, so I need to listen to Captain Beefheart because I've only ever heard little bits, but he was such a big influence on Tom Waits, and Tom Waits is my favorite. So it's a weird, I almost think that there's some kind of internal hesitancy of like, if I don't love it, am I letting Tom Waits down? I don't know. I don't know why it is.
Honestly, I feel that way about like Fugazi. Like so many bands I love Fugazi, and I'm like, there's like the one song, like Waiting Room or whatever. Like that's a good song, but other than that, I'm like, this just sounds like mostly like hardcore punk, and that's kind of it for me. I'm like, I think there's more interesting bands from that era, but
You're
like,
allowed to be wrong, Mason. So
and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're
I'm
very
allowed to be
wrong on
wrong,
that.
and
That's
I'm
okay.
and I'm sure I am. Like there is something to be said about like the fact that like they were so committed to their ethic and everything, in the way that like to me like the Fugazi version of where when I grew up was like Me Without You, but I don't know, like there's just something about their music where I'm like, like I get it, it makes sense, like on paper it makes sense, but like I just can't get into them.
Let me give you this perspective on Fugazi and see if next time you listen, if it changes anything.
right.
But listen to them thinking about, I think this is the way they make sense to me. It just sounds like everybody is playing what feels good to play. Like it's not about thought at all. It's all about like feeling. It feels very visceral. Like, what does it feel like to move my hand like this on the strings right now? And like, you know what I'm saying? There's something so like in the body about it. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I think that's why it was different than everything. They were tapping into something completely different, and it.
Pure
To me, like the
expression.
most like redeeming part of Fugazi is the fact that like, you know, what did they start like in the mid 80s, and my dad would have been in high school. Like, I often think about the fact that, like, my dad could have been a Fugazi fan, and because he graduated in like 86 or 87 from high school. Like, he could have been a Fugazi fan and never did. And I'm like, God, my dad could have been cool, but he never was. And that to me is like the most redeeming part of Fugazi, is the fact that like my dad could have been cool, but he wasn't, because he wasn't a Fugazi fan.
I like that.
There's still hope. There's still time, Mason.
Not for my dad. No, he's too far gone. Yeah,
No.
he listens to too much whatever.
Go take it out on that
going.
Arizona golf course with him. See if it happens.
Yeah. It's too far. He's too far gone. He's he's whatever is that like anti like Fugazi like poison. He's gone too far gone on that. So anyway, Dustin, what do you want to plug? Obviously, Horizons West is already out. People can get it. The tour's already ended. I saw you guys play. It was awesome. It was like one of my favorite concerts of 2025. Anything else you want to plug around that? I don't know if you guys are playing any shows this year in 2026 or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to Europe, if you're listening there, and Australia, and then we're going to be playing a bunch of random kind of fests throughout the rest of the year, and possibly a tour at the end of the year.
Nice.
Also, I just finally, it's very late because it's a crazy thing, but I got the special edition of the vinyl, and it's seriously wild. I don't know if you've seen the video, but like,
did you open it up already?
I just did, yeah, but it's so there's die cuts in all these that go through multiple layers.
Nice.
So I had it sideways. So this the lyrics on this thing that slides through and shows through. You can see through two different levels of paper here, and then so one thing is inside that, right? But then some go through all the way. You can see
this is
the
like
record.
Looks like something I would have played with when I was like 2 years old.
It's so cool.
This is
yeah. So Jordan, the guy that just kills it.
Oh, that's a beautiful
and this
vinyl
it's
too.
really pretty. Yeah.
That's very
Looks like
pretty.
So
Cotton Candy.
there, I don't know which colors we have left, but there are, I think, some copies of the Super Special guy. If you check our website, I'm sure. So
how much fun is it
yeah.
to be able to hold like a physical medium, like a specialized? It's not just like a CD. It's not a jewel case. It's how cool is it to just hold a physical medium of?
It's great. It's a
of your own music.
It is a physical manifestation. It's literally little grooves on there that are, I mean, records in general are just magical. But
Is it better than holding a child that you just made?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Doesn't
pee on you.
It's just,
Do you get the feeling of of more permanence when you get that in your hands? Like your music is going to be more permanent than it otherwise would be. Because if like the internet goes down tomorrow and you don't have vinyl out there, no one's listening to your stuff, unfortunately.
I don't know if I've thought about it that way, but I like that.
Interesting thought. I don't know.
and there's something to be said about like, there's like very popular artists like on Spotify just because they're on Spotify, and maybe they had like some huge like TikTok hit or whatever. But there's something to be said like those people don't have vinyls, but
Or
like a
even
band like
CDs.
Thrice.
Yeah.
Or CDs, but there's bands like Thrice where you might not have like the TikTok hit that's gonna make you tens of millions of like monthly listeners, but like you're at least gonna have however many vinyls you sell, and people are gonna have permanent music, and those are the people that are also gonna show up to your shows, and these like TikTok big popular people like they might have.
I'm not gonna say no to
that's cool though.
TikTok. It's just never ever gonna happen for us. That is not the kind of thing that.
I mean, come on,
happens
like
for
you
Thrice.
got the face for TikTok, Dustin.
No, and then like Jordan is like, this has definitely got to win a Grammy, like the design, not the record.
thing's
And I'm
sick.
just like, I just feel bad. I'm like, it's not gonna happen, dude. Like that is not in the cards for my band, and I am sorry that we are cursed of certain things.
Well, now that you're on the
working
BlackSheep Podcast, it's a real possibility.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
we
Norma
never
Jean
get syncs. We never get like stuff in movies or shows. Like it's just, I don't know.
Norma Jean won a Grammy, I believe, for their album art once.
They were nominated for.
They were
Oh God.
nominated. You're right.
They were nominated
You're
for Oh God. Yeah, never won it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tooth and Nail has never won a Grammy. They've only ever been nominated. So,
yeah.
Anyway, fun fact for you Tooth and Nail kids out there. Anyway, Dustin, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You're always the best. I can't wait to hang out with you again. You're just such a chill dude, and I was on the West Coast this last week, way farther north than you were, but yeah, I'll see you sometime, and yeah, just can't wait to hang again with you. You're just always such a good friend.
Dude, it was awesome to talk to you guys. Thank you for having me.